Introduction to service companies. Consulting business companies are in fact a type of service companies. So it is very good to start with understanding the basics on a service company. And before we go into trying to show you how to model this in Excel, we're going to be talking briefly on what is the most important fact in service companies. So as you probably have guessed, this is a business where you turn the worker's time into some sort of a product. It can be in Excel, it can be a PowerPoint. If it's let's say more physical service, it can be the clean stairs or it can be packed goods, etc. But in fact, in most of them, you basically what you try to do is to turn the man hours into money. Therefore, there are some things you should concentrate on and that you should do in order to be successful. So first of all, measure man hours. So whenever you have people, try to turn them into man hours possible to be sold. So your supply, and then through utilization, so percentage of sold hours, try to capture the business size. And this will also help you to think in terms of a business, how to put it properly. Second thing is actually that whenever you have some sort of tasks, especially if you have a task that can be standardized, you should measure them to know how many man hours it takes in order to be able to control properly your people, but also to be able to cost properly the service. For example, in airline maintenance companies, for every specific task, you've got time being measured of the performance. And in many cases, you're charging the customers on the basis of those standards time or the times which were the actual ones. Then since you have so many people and you've got the man hours and you try to use them properly, efficiently, and to sell them as much as possible, you have to make a priority staying productive and efficient, both on the level of each and every worker, but also within the teams. So you actually can have a situation where you are very efficient in terms of specific workers, but as an organization, you're not efficient because people are basically working on different benchmarks. We'll briefly talk about this as well in this course, but for more, go to my course on management productivity hacks for consultants. Then the other thing, since we are in the word, let's say, of man hours, you try to sell and because you have the workers, is basically that you have to make sure that the supply matches the demand. So the demand here is what the customer wants. And the supply is basically the workers or the subcontractors you've got and the man hours they offer you. This also entails forecasting both the supply and the demand, and also in a sense on the basis of those forecasts creating the demand whenever there is a possibility for that. So you have a low utilization, so the supply is big but the demand is small. What is worth remembering in the case of service company is that the supply is quite often not easy to produce, especially for services which are more advanced like consulting. The time you need to prepare a certain worker, it's from 2 to 6 years depending how qualified he has to be. So you have to be able to predict the supply ahead of time because you will not be able to react fast enough to create the supply. Even if you go for recruiting the people who already have experience, then obviously it will take from 3 to 6 months because they have to give notice in the previous job. The other thing in services is always that, especially if the services are comparable, is to make sure that the margins are okay. So what happens quite often is that due to the fact that you are starting in some sort of an auction organized by the customer and you want to get a bigger deals, you tend to go down with the price, which is very dangerous, but because at some point you end up taking contracts which are not profitable. So make sure that the margins are okay. In consulting is a little bit better because the margins per person, per hour are relatively high, yet always have a look also the head office costs because they might actually be eating away the margins.